You run it, and you can see where the hotspot of the issues are. You just click on the hotspot so that you can zoom in to know the specific locality that the issue is actually confronting. So that's what we mean by interactive. Actually, the attribute, basically, it will give you the region, then the statistics that you actually highlighted over here. For example, if you are taking school non-attendance rate and you've run that one, it will give you the demarcations about the school non-attendance, the population that is existing within the area, and the total enrollment, and then the non-enrollment in that area.
So, for instance, click
Which one? This.
Yes. So, if I'm a fresh user, what region is that, and how will I do so?
Okay. Oh, I think it's because of the. So. So the down part of course, that will be no. Okay. Oh, okay. No, it's because of that one. This. Sorry. Yeah, I can see that. Sorry, there's some mishap over here, but then it's actually upper northeast, somewhere northeast, but I'm not too specific.
So, if I'm a new user, yes, that works really good, but I'm not that privileged to garden the districts.
Yeah.
So, if I click on it, how do I know that, okay, this is the district? Or assuming let's go with high to this is the area. How would they know that this is in my region?
Thank you. I think that is a nice question. Looking at the picture that we demonstrated at the presentation slides, you saw some legends. Here we are displaying to show you how you can build a dashboard using the issues at hand to display the issues within the regions. So since the variables.
You indicated, just like Prof said, you indicated it's interactive. If it's interactive, then I do not need static pictures. Because once it's static, then it's no more interactive. So which means it's something that changes on the fly and gives us the various changes. So my point is, if I click here, I should know.
Okay. One idea also in mind with respect to that particular question is that when you come to the dashboard itself, you just have to select. But for the pictures or for the different distributions to be rolling on, to be passing over, we will have to link it to a website, which we wanted to, but because of the time, so we couldn't link this particular one, so that we can roll it such that if you are on the website itself, the statistics will be changing from time to time, which we can actually set for that. For every minute, it should run to different. That is the idea that we have in mind. So this is just the dashboard that we are trying to just show.
What is the theoretical explanation or hypothesis you might have how education relates or correlates at least with access to water, especially after including, and this is what comes in your slides, after including control variables. What is the causal from access to
the
water?
correlation between access to water,
Okay.
and then
The basic understanding is that we need time to go and fetch water. And if you look at deprived community, especially in the northern part of the country, where the hotspots are found, you realize that students will have to wake up early morning, spend hours going to the water source before they go to school. So looking at the distance, the higher the distance, that child is going to, that is what is informing even the first picture we put on the slide, that the child is happy going to school. But what if he has to be late going? That child will have to rush and do everything. So that is where the motivation is coming from.
Thank you.
Yes. So this. So one thing we are trying to highlight over here is actually drinking water, which we didn't really articulate or make very clear. It's actually access to drinking water. So if you get the access to drinking water, probably, because we have not tested that, so probably the stream is not really consumable enough. So that's why.
Thank you. Thank you, team.
So we use data actually from Stars Bank, the micro data, and some other administrative data that helps us to, especially the distance to school. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Next team is. Thank you. Done.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you. You ready? Good luck, guys.
My name is Aaron John Peter, and we are Team Badwemba. And we are here to present Town Crafts, a community planner that we have. Now, let's say in this street in Ghana wants to create a facility or come up with a new facility in his constituency. Now, there are certain facilities that are more needing to be created more than others. So instead of you can rather build a hospital instead of building a hospital. So we have identified this as a problem, okay, because they do not have adequate data to back up most of this information. Okay, so we are coming up with a web application that will analyze data about certain facilities and then available for such an MP to consider and then know what is actually necessary to be created first. So that is what Towncraft is about. Now, Towncraft has many benefits. It analyzes the data and makes it easier for an MP or a town executive to consider the kind of facility to create first. it's also a very interactive web application, and then it enhances effective planning. So if you consider the data that you have, you can be able to plan adequately.
All right. So as my colleague rightly said, we are creating Towncraft, and with Towncraft, what we do is that we use data from the GSS Stars Bank, and besides the data from the GSS Stars Bank, we are also using data from credible agencies like the Ghana Health Service. For right now, please give me a moment. I really have to. Our server. Um, yeah. I hope you would give us extra time too. All right. So, yes, thank you for the wait. So, as you can see, once you come to Towncraft, you see all the regions in Ghana, and then you, as an MP or as a district executive, you click on your district. We are going to select Greater Accra. Once you click on Greater Accra, you see all the various districts in Greater Accra, and then you choose your district that you want to work in or you want to plan for. So let's say you click Adan West. So once you click on Adan West, the data that we've aggregated in our database, we perform the analysis on it, and as you can see, it's being loaded and it's being run on the back end. And once it's done, we show you the amenities that you are, let's say, at liberty to plan for, or at liberty to see if you are, if they are optimized in your district. So, for instance, we just choose hospitals for now, and once you click on hospitals, you have a map showing you where all the hospitals in um, your district are. Honestly, our Google Map API is not working, so we are not able to do that now. But then you can see the total population you have, and some other analytics we are giving you currently are the total number of hospitals you have. In fact, if you check right now, you see that Adan West has only 8 hospitals, and the total number. So comparing the number of people we have in the district against the number of hospitals, we now give you a ratio of each hospital, or the number that each hospital is serving. So as you can see, a hospital in Adan, or a health center in Adan, is serving regular health center in Adan. So right now, the only health center we keep in Adan is Burton Hospital in Burton, which is dangerous, because we know that, in fact, the World Health Organization advises that we use a hospital to about 1,000 people. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. And then, yes, so also from the Ghana Stars Bank, we're able to generate the average proximity to a health center. So wherever you are in Adan West, regardless of where you are, whether in an urban area or in a rural area, from where you are to the nearest health center is about 2 kilometers, which is bad. Imagine, I'm just saying, you get bitten by a snake. Before you get there, you'll be dead. All right, so beyond this, we now use, from our analysis, we now give you our recommendation, and that is that more hospitals need to be built in Adan West, and we hope to add more features to it. Thank you very much. This is Tim Bajumba.
The data that we have, we got it when we run how do you know what is working? Because you should have tried it on other places too.
Please, it does work. For instance, when you come to the home, you can select just about any region. For instance, if I select Western region, we are pulling directly from the Ghana Stars Bank. You can see all the, including the new ones. Of course, SDMA is seen as one, so we are not showing you, but then you can see all the districts there. So, yes.
Okay, so
Thank you very much for.
a follow-up question to what Prof is saying. That might be a bit biased because I'm more into this. So did you preload the data into your DB or you use the APIs directly from the Stars Bank?
Okay, so some of the data was preloaded. For instance, please go to, for instance, the data we are using for the number of health centers in a particular district, that data was recorded in 2018. That data is not on the Stars Bank website. So for that data, we have to aggregate to know exactly upfront how many health centers are in a particular district. Because those ones we have a database.
No, what I mean is, did you download the data from the Stars Bank, input it into your DB, or you have an API connection from your system to the Stars Bank directly?
So for the page where we show the analytics, we have an API working at the back end. But for also for here where we show the district, we also have an API working at the back end. So
Is the API connected to the Stars Bank or the API is connected to your database?
the API is connected to the Stars Bank, not our
Not
database.
your database.
So if we update the number of districts in a region, this will
This
automatically
will be not
update. Okay, yeah. And where did you get the data on the health centers from? Let's say this
We
one.
got it from the Ghana Open Data Initiative.
One more thing. Since the API to the map is not working, how do we ascertain if it works?
Well, it is not in the confines of this event, but actually as a team we work on a similar project called Tvucc.
So why didn't this work then?
Okay, so the thing is that as of last week, our API, like we are using a free tier and we don't have a free tier is about $200.
Where you are coming from that? I know that was it. I wanted to be sure because it has a free tier. But because they say they've worked on it before, so free tier is
Okay, so based on this, what key policy information are you putting up?
Alright, so we are looking at optimizing district resources. So as my colleague likes to say, okay, thank you very much. So a minister may come and promise the constituents that he will build a road or build a school, whereas a road is not needed at that particular time. A school is needed. So what our value proposition as Towncraft is that we are helping the district assemblies make informed decisions as to what infrastructural development their communities need. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Okay. It seems we are famous. Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Yes, please. Okay, sir. Health facility. Oh. Yes, please. Yes, please. Thank you so much.
For analytics,
Yes, sir.
you show these are health facilities.
Yes, sir.
Give us the numbers for each category.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Yes, sir.
each compound,
Yes, sir.
I think it's health booking or electric.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The other part I want you to look at when we are about presentation, you brought out a very good idea. There is this other notion around what the people themselves would want.
Yes, sir.
So I don't think it's always important just to give the data to
The district.
but so that they can appreciate what
Those are very valuable insights. Yes, please.
Is the conclusion static or is there one?
This conclusion as at now is static. But then, yes, in future we are looking at in fact, I think I'll end here because I'm going to say a lot of things. Yeah. Thank you so much.
So please, can I start? Please, can I start?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Please, I'm Millicent. Please, I'm Millicent Yaboa, and this team, Great Minds. We are presenting on Bridging the Digital Divide, exploring the role of education and employment in enhancing ICT access and usage. So, digital divide refers to the gap. It refers to the gap that shows people who use modern ICT and those who do not, and has a great implication on our economic, political, and social system. So the problem statement, digitalization and ICT have become integral to our daily lives. It has reshaped how we communicate, how we work, and how we learn. Ghana has embarked on digital economy through the use of ICT, and these include the e-farmer, My Ghana Pay, and among others. However, there are some disparities in the use of ICT and the access of ICT in Ghana. Please, I'll leave here for my colleague to continue with the dashboard, which will help him show the relationship with the variables.
Thank you very much. So, solution you propose, or the solution that we have developed, is in two. One, a dashboard showing the digital divide in various districts in Ghana. And the second one is an AI technology that is able to answer questions about data. So we start with our dashboard. The first page of this dashboard shows a digital divide in the district, and then correlation between variables such as literacy and employment. So the first on my side is a cluster column chart that is showing the relationship or correlation between non-literacy rates and then non-use of mobile devices. It shows clearly that there's a positive correlation between the two. This means that the more the number of people who are not literate, the more the number of people who do not use mobile devices or technology. The right to this is also another cluster column chart that is showing the correlation between literacy rates and the use of mobile devices. And this also shows a positive relationship, meaning the more the number of people who are literate, the more the number of usage of ICT tools. Down here is also a cluster column chart that shows the usage of non-usage of smartphones or non-usage of ICT tools by top 5 districts. So the result gives us the top 5 districts who are suffering from the digital divide. To the right of it is also another chart that is also showing top 5 districts who are benefiting from it or who are having access to digital technology. Next page. This page shows a proportion of digital divide in various districts, and you have the opportunity to select each district and then see the total number of people employed in the district, and you also see the percentage proportion of people who are using both smart and non-smart devices, people who are not using any of them at all, and people who are using only smart device only. The breakdown is also presented on this table. This shows the breakdown of this total number of people employed, and then the breakdown. So self-employed, people who are doing people's work, and other divisions of the total number of people employed in the particular district that you select from. The left here. Next page. So this is our AI technology that is able to answer questions about data. So any question you ask should be based on the data we have here. So for example, I want to ask this technology that top 5 districts by employed. Top 5 districts by total employed. So based on the question you ask the technology, it's going to give you the answer. The answer is also based on the data. It is not outside the data. So maybe somebody can bring another question and we can ask. The question should be based on the data, and then we'll see how the AI will perform. Largest region by total employed. Largest region by total employed. Largest district. Our data is taken into consideration. That's I said that AI answer questions based on the data, and the data is in district. We don't have regional category in the data. By total employed. Largest district by total employed. By employment. By employment. Okay, so the first region, you can see that the question he asked, if you check the question, they are similar questions. So later. So from this technology, we aim to expand the scope of this technology to cover most of the data set on the Start Bank website, which will be able to assist users to derive insight from the data on the website. And our recommendation to the government is that there are a lot of districts in Ghana that suffer from data divide. So we recommend that the government should invest in those areas. And then we also recommend that we saw from the data that there are districts that are using digital technologies more. So anytime government want to launch any digital product, those districts should be a target for testing. Since they already use digital devices, it's better to test GPay in Accra than coming to maybe a village that don't even have phone, don't have any smartphone to use it, or maybe keypad where they don't have some. Thank you very much. Yes, please. So this page do not take in consideration the total population size of the country. It's rather taking into consideration the total number of people employed, because we're more concerned about the employment and how ICT affect it. Yes, please. We were considering, but this data does not have it, so it doesn't take into consideration the telcos and their operation or expansion to those areas. But it takes into consideration the access to ICT and other data technologies by the people in each district. So it sums everything together, but it doesn't go specific to telcos and network. You know, data device talk about either access to internet, access to mobile device, all. But our data sum everything together. So for this solution, we leverage on an already existing model from OpenAI. So we use their APIs. So we integrated the APIs into our dashboard, and then we set it in a way that it will answer questions solely on the data we feed. This one just in about 5 seconds, 10 seconds. But for actual training, it was done by OpenAI. So we didn't train it as in machine learning. You have to have your training data, testing data, and then test it. Yes, please. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good morning. Okay. This is Team UCC, and we are here to present on a policy brief on mitigating school dropouts in Ghana. As we know, education is a fundamental human right that needs to be achieved by everyone, as UN and all the contributing bodies are advocating. And it contributes to the development of every nation. For that matter, it is important that all children are enrolled in school. However, it has come to our notice that per statistics that are available about the number of people who enroll in primary school, JHS or SHS, it's not all those people who are enrolled that gets to completion. And statistics show that 71% of these people in primary only complete. The rest of the 29% do not complete. for JHS, 47% complete, and for senior high, 35% complete. The rest are dropout. So this high rate of dropout do not impact only on the students, but it also has a very great impact and far-reaching consequences for the country, including high illiteracy rate, which is about 42.9%, unemployment, which is 67%, and this is confirmed, or this is from the 2021 Population and Housing Census data. This also leads to weakened economic structures, as well as social problems such as child labor, marriages, child marriage, and juvenile delinquencies and crime. However, Sustainable Development Goal 4 deals with quality education and providing opportunities for all and for lifelong learning. Therefore, if this trend should continue in Ghana, it is going to affect this particular goal. Ghana will not be able to achieve this goal by 2030 as proposed in the goals. So we therefore propose a model that will help mitigate this issue of dropping out, that is predicting the dropping out of this, and this is the model which is going to assist us. So the policy objectives is to ensure that the rate of dropout is prevented or stopped or reduced to the barest minimum if it is not prevented. And also we propose interventions to mitigate the dropout, such as building infrastructure and teacher training, proper teacher training, logistics and other things. And also to predict the likelihood of a child dropping out of school using the binary regression, logistic regression model. That is a model that we are predicting, we are providing as a solution to preventing or stopping the child dropout. So my friend will continue.
So from here, we actually conceptualize our model into two factors. We have the student factor and the family and socio-economic factors. So these are the factors we have identified to be contributing to dropout rate. Sorry. Charlie, how do you? The middle one. The down. Okay. Right. So actually, this is the mathematical equation for our model, and the model actually shows very relevant information. Yes, very relevant information regarding our key items that we have identified. Looking at this model, you find that some factors actually contribute significantly much more than other factors. For instance, scholarship awards contributes greatly, whilst the performance of a student contributes very minimal. And then also, when you look at a person's sex, that talks about the sex discrimination, which is also contributing to the model very significantly. And so, looking at this model, this is the model that will be able to help us to predict the percentage of persons at risk. Yes, and that will be that's the top equation we see. So at the end, we actually did a number of analysis. A series of analysis with the Ghana Statistical Service data that shows significant correlations with this within these variables. 1 minute, okay. The final accuracy prediction model that shows us that we have an overall prediction accuracy of 72%. Means that our model can predict correctly 72% of any data you give to it. Though our prediction has some margin of error, which is in the actual in the main document. Right. So finally, we try to recommend to the government and the Ministry of Education to actually intensify their efforts in terms of effective monitoring and evaluation and improve data quality in order to be able to help build and effectively roll out this prediction model to check at-risk students before they drop out of school. Yes. So, thank you very much. These are a few references we can show.
Yeah, this analysis is based on the current population and housing society released by the PSS. But considering the variables you analyze, how different is what you've done from what already exists currently?
Actually, we initiated our analysis. I mean, we had our idea from the main 2021 census, where we were able to do a factor analysis with the number of students, number of people who graduate at a certain level, and so we realized that there was this kind of similarity between all the variables, and we realized there's this variation, a very high variation of about 13 point something variance within the variables. So that is a signal of disparity between these levels of educations, and so this is where our idea was triggered. So we tried to think through, and we realized that no, getting a solution to identify a student who is at risk of dropping out is the best way to go, such that we don't wait until students drop out before we begin taking measures. So we decided a predictive model will do, and that is the binary logistic regression model. So with that model, we realized statistical service data had some of our variables, but not all of the variables can be gotten from them. So that was where we actually went to GES data. We had a few variables, but truly our data GES data could not also give us all the variables that we needed. So we made certain projections, and then we made certain simulations before we were able to come out with our model. Yes. How innovative? Yes. You know, and that was what I first initiated by saying we ran a series of analysis. We ran a factor analysis that gave us a certain hint. We also ran some cross tabulation of this age group against levels compared. We realized that there were people who were there were people who have very little age groups, very small age groups, but I mean very high age groups, but their levels of completion, I mean their highest educational level of completion was somewhere KG primary, and so we realized that this is a very significant factor to deal with. So a number of analysts. Does this student experience pressure for marriage? Yes or no? That was what we used to measure cultural factor.
And then the other cultural factor we looked at was whether the community from which the student is coming from.
Okay.
So whether the community from which the student is coming from is a place that is prone to conflict or disaster, natural disasters and all those things. So we also consider that aspect of the culture as well.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon. We are Team Main, and our product is a policy paper on the incidence of energy poverty in Ghana. When you mention energy poverty in Ghana, someone asks what's energy poverty. Energy poverty is basically access to modern, affordable, and available energy services that are clean. Currently, Ghana has about 86% of its population having access to electricity for lighting, but it's still the case for Ghana. This is the outline of our presentation. And for our motivation is the SDG goals. At the heart of it is climate change, and at the heart of climate change is energy, the energy source. The use of energy services has implication on the health of individuals. Studies have proven that people who use more of the traditional fuels are likely to have respiratory diseases and all that. And also life on land. Traditional fuels have to rely on deforestation for their fuel source. Now, conventional energy poverty indexes have focused on using access to electricity for lighting as their measurement for energy poverty. So we came up that Ghana has currently 86% access. Is that the case for Ghana? No. We want to focus on the cooking fuels. So we want to use the cooking fuels as the index to measure energy poverty in Ghana. Our methodology, we employ data from the GSS Stats Bank, and also we augmented that with the Ghana population and housing census microdata, the 10% microdata. Our main variable was the main source of cooking fuels used by the households. So whether we have electricity, we have LPG, we have wood, we have biogas, we also have cooking gels and the rest. Now we developed our index. Our index ranged from 1 to 100%. And this is what we did. If the number of households in the district, about less than 50 of the households in the district use modern fuels, we classify them as very poor. Now, if the proportion of households that use clean energy services are between 50 inclusive and 79, we classify them as energy poor. And if about more than 80% of the households use clean energy services, we classify them as energy non-poor. So that's what I said. And for the microdata, we recoded the fuel used. The fuel used. If you use clean energy fuel, we code you as 1. If you use otherwise, we code you as 0, and we run a probate regression model to see the determinant of factors affecting the adoption of clean energy sources. Now, so this is the presentation of the non-energy poor districts in Ghana. There were only 12, and all of them were found in Greater Accra region. This is very interesting. When we go to the top 10 very energy poor districts in Ghana, we had about 207 districts out of the 261 districts in Ghana, falling, and less than 50% of all the households in that district use clean energy fuels. And for the poor households, we had about 42 districts who are energy poor. We went on further. About 4 million households in Ghana use traditional fuels, which about 2 million is from wood, and about 2 million from wood, and about 1 million households use charcoal. Kerosene was the least used. Similarly, for the modern energy sources, the one used most was the LPG. Electricity was the least used one. Now, from our results, we realize that disability status, household size, marital status, literacy level, and all these are the major factors affecting the use of the modern energy services. So our recommendation, we are recommending that practical education on the appropriate use of modern energy sources, it shouldn't be just theoretical. They can take the LPG gas cylinder there with the stove and teach them how to use it. Some have perception that it may explode and all that, but with practical education and community engagement, even for those who are not literate, through the town halls, assemblymen, they can educate them. And also, we are recommending that disability-friendly manuals for electric appliances, such as rice cooker, can be used to increase the share of modern energy use among the disabled. For our prospects, that's the future of this product. We want to do a spatial analysis of energy poverty in Ghana, but now we are going to look at the access to energy facilities, such as refilling LPG stations, that could also affect their use of the modern energy services. So in a district where there are no refilling LPG gas stations, we don't expect them to use LPG. So we want to do a spatial analysis to see how that works. And also we want to use ours to back up the cylinder recirculation program that is ongoing to do the tracking and how there's going to be improvement in energy poverty in Ghana. The energy security policy model. We don't want to initiate this policy in isolation. Assuming now all households are moving to LPG and electricity, will we be able to meet such demand as a country? So that's the future and the prospects of our model. Thank you very much. Now, okay, for the time we have to now get data on the number of energy facilities in each of the districts, the LPG gas filling station in each district. So assuming for the northern part, we have to know the total number of forest areas and all that. These are all energy facilities they use. And that the time given, that would have made our work so enormous. Okay. We did for the lighting source. We realized that the average access for almost all the districts was 86%. So for that, we are okay on that. And even the Energy Commission also proved that about 86% of all households in Ghana have access to electricity as lighting sources. Okay, so this is where we use the micro data. We use the 10% data from the population housing census. Okay, and the dependence variable was still the main cooking fuel. But now we look at your main cooking fuel. If it is a modern energy source, we code you as 1. If it is otherwise, we code you as 0. Then we run a probate regression. The dependent variable was binary, whether you use modern or you don't use. Then we run the regression. In our abstract, in the document we presented to the panel, we have the regression result in there. Yeah. Yes, very significant. Yeah. To rank the factors. Okay, from our regression model, that will not determine it, but for a policy variable, we will recommend disability status. Sorry, for policy variables, we recommend disability status and also literacy level as policy variables we can use. And these are present. Yes. Yes, please. No, from the data, we didn't see a variable on household income. That's why we didn't use that. They were all significant at 1%. So the coefficient. Okay. In the main work, you see the coefficient there. Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for the correction. Thank you.
Next, Team Sky Up.
Very last one.
Yeah, the last one. Yes. Good job, guys.
Okay. Thank you and good afternoon. This is Team Sky App. We are going to present on enhancing domestic revenue mobilization in Ghana with focus on the property tax in Ghana. We have realized that literature has attributed economic growth to tax remobilization, and so analysis of reports, financial statement and budget of district assemblies show that the revenues accruing from property tax are dwindling. So for instance, in 2022, the amount projected was 64 million Ghana cedis, but out of that, only 39.39 million was realized at the end of the year. So given the SDG goals target 17.1, that is encouraging Ghana to, or African countries or countries to leverage on domestic revenue mobilization for economic growth. It was important for us to rely on data from Ghana Statistical Service, the Stat Bank, to project how Ghana can leverage on the property tax to make more revenue. So we have Peru's statistics from the budget, composite budget of districts in Ghana, metropolitan municipal assemblies in Ghana, and we notice that their property rates per city is 0.006, 0.001, 0.03, 0.04, 0.05. So over the period, that is what they are being. So we took the aggregate of this in cities, then we calculated it and amounted it to dollars, and that was how we got the rate for. Then we move on to the value of the asset. So the statistics show that we have residential and non-residential data from Ghana Statistical Service. So we were able to look at what the Bank of Ghana used for, the pricing of a house in Ghana. So it says that we have a minimum of $50,000 for a residential house and a minimum of $30,000 for a non-residential house. So with this data, we were able to run an estimate of the relationship between the price in cedi, which we converted to dollars, and multiplied by the non-residential and non-residential, and at the end of the day, we had an average amount of 45.14 million accruing to the nation if they adopt our model. So in effect, we are trying to say that the structures in Ghana, by God's grace, the first time in the history of the country, Ghana Statistical Service have captured listing of structures, which formerly was not there. So district can now collaborate with the Ghana Statistical Service with the GPS addresses that were taken on each structure to be able to locate all the structures and profile all these structures in all the assemblies, and they'll be able to adequately tax these properties and locate the owners for taxation purposes. So in effect, we are saying that if the government of Ghana through the MEVs do this, they are able to mobilize revenue effectively. One, to collaborate with some statutory organizations like Ghana Statistical Service. I mentioned that with Ghana National Identification Authority. In this case, they will be able to locate the GPS which has already been taken and help the municipal assemblies profile their properties. We can also do this through utilities. Ghana Water Company, ECG, VRA, Gridco, we can partner with them so we can have a component of the property billing on the meters. So for well structures that are developed, we can look at how we can get the properties on the meters for landlord or property owners to be able to pay the property effectively. We notice that in Ghana, what data show that people are technically unable to pay tax, direct tax, but when through indirect means we are able to fuse it in, they will be willing to pay the tax. We also encourage that government should also be proactive in making the service provision at the municipal level more visible to the people, so that through education they will be able to recognize the impact the property tax revenues are making in them. So at the end of the day, we can have enough revenue from the tax. Thank you. We relied on what was provided in the Stat Bank, but the grade was an estimate from Bank of Ghana. So they gave that residential buildings have a minimum amount, the valuation, then non-residential has a minimum amount. So we try to use that as, So we didn't get the specific grading. So we did that projection based on the minimum amount. Of course, if other grades come, they may also have their minimum. So they can all become part of the minimum amount that is set. Yes.
Of the data that one will be able to get, which data would help you with that? What pictures would you need to get access to the data?
Yes. So what we would do is to still look at how government can mobilize the revenue. So the State Bank is well put, and we have the data on it. Some only the other thing that we are not able to find is how the grading could be done. So moving forward, we can also recommend that in the next population census, they should be able to find the various grades of assets that are there, the structures. Okay, so we summarize this in the abstract. So we decided to show the regional analysis, even though the data was not on regions, it's not on district. We were able to profile every district according to their regions. So we have the regional analysis, how much the region will be making from the local government service because of the act. Then the mean is the average amount that we are going to look at. Then the others, the median and the minimum maximum for each for the district at the district level. So this is the descriptive. Yes. So yeah, with the when you have access to the main document which was shared, the comprehensive analysis is inside.